Get ready, because it is shaping up to be a week of absolutely wild weather across the United States. We're watching a single massive storm system that's about to unleash pretty much everything you can imagine: blizzards, severe thunderstorms, and even record-breaking heat. Okay, let's break it all down.
To really get a grip on what's coming, we first have to look at what just happened. That severe weather outbreak from March 10th to the 12th, it was the biggest we've seen all year. It tore a devastating path across 6 states and so tragically took the lives of a husband and wife in Indiana. We're talking a 37-mile path of destruction and power knocked out for 140,000 people. The scale of it was just immense, and honestly, it sets a very serious stage for the even more powerful system that's on its way right now.
And here's what's truly staggering about that last storm. The strongest tornado, an EF3, stayed on the ground for an unbelievable 81 minutes. 81 minutes! That's how it carved that 37-mile-long scar across Illinois and Indiana. It's just a terrifying amount of time for a tornado like that to be on the ground.
And that brings us to right now. While communities are still trying to pick up the pieces, a new, even more dynamic system is taking aim at the country. So the big question is, what's going on here? Why is this one potentially even more dangerous, and how can one storm cause so many different kinds of chaos all at once?
Well, the answer is that we're dealing with one enormous, powerful storm system that's acting like a single engine driving all of this extreme weather. So let's pop the hood and see how this atmospheric machine actually works. At the heart of this whole thing is a rapidly strengthening low-pressure system. And really, the easiest way to think about it is like a giant spinning engine in the sky. As it spins, it sucks in air from all around it, and the kind of air it pulls in is what determines the kind of weather you get on the ground. So it's basically a 3-step process. First, on its front side, it sucks in all that warm, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico. That's the thunderstorm fuel. Second, on its backside, it's dragging a powerful cold front across the country. That's the trigger. And third, when that fuel and that trigger collide, well, that's what unleashes 2 completely different but equally dangerous types of weather. Let's start with the warm side. So out ahead of that cold front, in all that warm, soupy air, the conditions are just becoming perfect for a major severe weather event across the South. The Storm Prediction Center has already put a bullseye on a huge area for Sunday. We're talking about millions of people in cities like Memphis, Little Rock, Shreveport, and all the way up into the mid-Mississippi Valley. If you're in that zone, you need to be paying close attention. Now, this event is probably going to look a little different from the last one. That outbreak had more of those classic single supercell thunderstorms. This time, it looks like we're going to see a fast-moving squall line. Think of it as a long, solid line of powerful storms developing right on the edge of that cold front.
And the main threat with a squall line like this is wind. I mean, widespread, damaging, straight-line winds, maybe gusting up to 75 miles per hour. But you can also get quick, spin-up tornadoes embedded within that line. And here's the biggest concern. A lot of this is going to happen after dark, which creates a really dangerous threat when people are at home and trying to sleep.
And this system doesn't just stop there. By Monday, the whole thing is going to keep charging east, bringing that same line of severe storms right to some major cities on the East Coast. Raleigh, Charlotte, and even D.C. and Baltimore are going to be in the line of fire Monday afternoon and evening.
Okay, so that's one side of the storm. Now let's completely pivot to its other personality, because on the cold northern side of this same spinning system, we are talking about a full-blown major winter storm. The dangers up here are the total opposite, but they are just as severe. The storm will crank frigid air down from Canada and wrap it into a ton of moisture. The result? Heavy, wet, cement-like snow. Now you combine that with winds gusting up to 60 miles an hour, and you have a perfect recipe for blizzard conditions. Travel on major routes like I-90 and I-94 could become pretty much impossible.
And what makes this situation even worse for the upper Midwest is that it's a real 1-2 punch. A smaller Clipper system is already moving through, dropping a solid 4 to 8 inches of snow. Then, the main megastorm arrives Sunday into Monday, dumping even heavier snow and unleashing those blizzard conditions right on top of what's already fallen.
So, how much snow are we actually talking about? Well, some of the forecast models, when you add up both storms, have been spitting out some truly eye-popping numbers. We're talking about localized spots in Wisconsin and Michigan's Upper Peninsula where they've suggested totals approaching 40 inches. Now hang on, is 40 inches really going to happen? Probably not. That's a true worst-case scenario. But the fact that the computer models are even suggesting it's possible tells you everything you need to know. It shows just how much moisture this storm has to work with and highlights the very real potential for a paralyzing, maybe even historic snowstorm for some of these areas.
So if we just zoom out and look at the whole country, what you see is a nation literally divided by weather next week. You've got one coast freezing, while the other one is absolutely baking in record heat. It is the definition of weather whiplash.
I mean, the contrast is just incredible. As that cold front blows through the east, it's going to drag a blast of Arctic air with it. Temperatures are going to plummet. We're talking 20 to 30 degrees below average. At the very same time, a massive heat dome is going to build over the west, sending temperatures there skyrocketing.
And when I say skyrocketing, I really mean it. We're looking at widespread 90s, and places in Arizona and Southern California could potentially break 100 degrees, maybe even hit 103. This is the kind of heat you'd expect in the middle of July, not the end of March.
And of course, that kind of crazy, unseasonable heat creates its own problems. All that mountain snowpack is going to start melting, and it's going to melt fast. All that water has to go somewhere, and that means we're going to have to start keeping a close eye on rising rivers and potential flooding.
So let's just quickly run through the timeline. Sunday, severe storms fire up in the south while the heavy snow gets really intense in the north. By Monday, that severe weather threat moves to the east coast. And then all through next week, that record-breaking heat just continues to build across the west.
So here are your key takeaways. If you're in the south and the east, be ready for fast-moving storms with some really damaging winds. If you're in the Midwest, you need to prepare for blizzard-like conditions and just plain dangerous travel. And for everyone out west, get ready for summer to show up a few months early. But listen, if you only take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Because so much of the severe weather in the south is going to happen at night, please make sure you have multiple reliable ways to get warnings. Alerts on your phone are great, but have a weather radio too. You need something that will absolutely be loud enough to wake you and your family up if danger is heading your way. You know, this one single storm system is a perfect little snapshot of the weather extremes we're all seeing more and more of. It really makes you think, when one country can be facing blizzards, tornadoes, and record-breaking heat waves all at the exact same time, what does it truly mean to be prepared anymore?